So let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Colette, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Colette Such.
Here.
Raj Rambam.
Here.
Mary Ann Wright.
Here.
Jim Garaventa. Matt Hawkins is absent. Kathy Peacock.
Here.
And Jeanette Lambert.
Here.
Okay. Report on the posting of the agenda at 2 p.m. on the 11th day of December. It was posted downstairs for public view. Approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, subtractions, any concerns? Seeing none, we'll continue on. Public forum. The public may address the task force on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the task force. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on the subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation. Is there anyone like to come forward and speak at the public forum portion of our agenda?
When did the homeless talk?
We can do that under new business number 2.
Okay.
That's continued discussion of homeless issues.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to then item E, unfinished business. There is none. Item F, new business. Discussion regarding homeless court, return to work, and revenue recovery issues. Found out this afternoon, not only was Tim not going to be here, but there was not a really set staff report for us to go by. So what I would like to do under the discussion of the issues here is to garner from the task force and the public what areas in particular, where you wanted to get information from, who to ask along those lines.
Of this topic.
Under this topic, the homeless court. It was brought up at the last meeting by the Mitchells, I believe, mostly, but others, if I'm not mistaken, that this was a topic to discuss. So, is there any questions among the task force before I open up to public comment?
I don't have a question,
Is there
but
any straw? Maybe you said a straw man or whatever you want to. Kathy.
I don't have a question, but I do think that we should look at other areas that have these in place, other communities that are similar to ours that have it in place, like a homeless court, if there is any in Northern California.
You want me to do that? Do you want me to take that assignment on?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also with revenue recovery, I think it all ties together. How does that work? Because I really do think that's an important
It's very
Oh, it's
big.
item.
critical.
Yeah.
It's critical.
for the well-being of the folks.
Okay. Do you want me, so I'll report next time, or how does that work? Do I
What's that?
just report at the next meeting, or
Yeah,
should
the
I
next-
send that information to all of you, or what do I?
Let's, it probably won't be, well, let's see, the next meeting will be we're not going to certainly meet right around the holidays, I wouldn't
I
think,
think it's,
because that's right at the holiday time. So the next meeting is going to be January 11th,
yeah.
and that's taken up by the meeting with the What Next group as well, and the talk of the low barrier. And that probably is going to take quite a bit of our time, wouldn't you say?
It could, yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
whole meeting? Okay.
So,
What's up with the one after that?
yeah, that would work.
Can you send us stuff
I'll
as
send
you
you
kind of
stuff
wrap
that
it up or see
absolutely.
what you
Right.
find?
And then
No?
make sure that Tim is part of that.
I will, yes.
Luke?
Certainly. Okay.
Okay, is there any other discussion amongst us about kind of what, before I open up public comment, what an idea before
Can I
we...
ask a question?
Sure.
Is any of this set up in our community at all? It seems like revenue.
Locally? There is a Office of Revenue Recovery at the county, but,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Perhaps if you are talking to someone about the homeless court, you might be able to get the information of how they proceed with that.
Right.
Because I think, like you said, it's kind of tied together,
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
what the procedure would be.
From what I understand, there is no homeless court
Right.
in our county.
That's
Not here.
Yeah. Kathy?
But also, when you do this, could you somehow or another incorporate or include the pitfalls, the problems that they have had, and maybe we could jump on that before,
Okay.
if that was something that might
Advantages and
face us,
disadvantages.
instead of
Okay.
trying to reinvent everything wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do it.
Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and ask the public, if anyone in the public would like to talk about any of these homeless court, return to work, revenue recovery issues.
Oh, good.
Carol.
Well, it seems kind of silly to put this on the agenda and waste everybody's time if there was nothing planned.
Yes.
So I find that kind of irritating. And then, are you familiar with the judicial system here? So you know that Donald Segerstroom is the presiding judge?
Yes, I do.
Because I don't know if they have room on their schedule to do
Yeah.
a homeless court, so I would like to ask that.
Right.
And then I'm sure Laura Krieg would like to weigh in a little bit. And then Shelley Peach, I think, heads up revenue and recovery. And I don't know
I didn't
about
know
return to
Shelley.
work.
I actually know the,
Okay.
I mean, I know the
And I was
system.
thinking in Stanislaus County, didn't
I
they
think
start a
they do.
homeless court
Yeah.
I
there?
think Modesto, I'm not sure.
There, but that would be
Okay.
the county, so that might be a resource. But
Okay.
this is kind of a waste of time.
Yeah. Well,
No, I don't think so.
I mean, we are talking about it and getting some parameters, but
It's
I
a waste
was,
of time.
well, anyway. Sir?
My name is George Marshall. I'm working at the Enrichment Center at the present time. Previously, I was homeless for about almost a year. Yes, I took some of the resources available, but I volunteered, not to brag on me, but I volunteered for almost 10 months before a position opened up for the county and eventually got hired. What I'm noticing is a very large lack of incentives in the area for people to get out of the homeless lifestyle, become a productive citizen. You know, I understand that there are some situations around the area that need to be addressed as far as vandalism-wise and other situations. I would just like to see an effort made, not only by the city, but also by the county as well, to provide some incentives, because all we're doing is just handing out. And it's the same people, it's the same, you know, they really don't have any reason to be more productive, because I hate to say it, but all we're doing is handing out. But there's no incentive for them, there's no job training. You've got tons of empty buildings downtown. I realize that a lot of them are privately owned. You know, we do need shelters. It is chilly outside. It's going to get colder. And when the rains come, that's not going to be fun for them. Trust me, I know, I've done it. And, you know, I would just like to see more improvement on getting them an opportunity. And yes, some don't want it. Some do, but some don't. But those that do, right now, don't have any real reason to come up from the camps and say, hey, I want to make a better life for myself. I mean, if they're perfectly able, walking, willing, whatever, they can ride a bike. A lot of them have bikes. A lot of them just walk. Like me, I don't have a car. But, again, it goes to the, you know, just giving them an opportunity. Because right now, there isn't one.
Go ahead.
George, what did you said that you volunteered?
I
What did you do?
volunteered at the Enrichment Center for about 10 months. I came up
At
from
the Enrichment
Vista,
Center?
and 2013 or 14, whatever it was, 4 years ago, and volunteered for 10 months. And, you know, just kept showing up. And yes, it was a place to take a shower, but it was also a place to learn. It was also a place to put, you know, what skills I had, you know, to good use. And a lot of these people have skills at doing stuff that, you know, makes it able for them to survive. But why not make it available for them to make a living at it? You know, some of them can do maintenance, some of them can do yard work, some of them can do, you know, some of them can bag groceries, some of them can do whatever. There's a lot of stuff out there that people can do, but as long as they keep getting handed out and keep getting stuff for free, what's the motivation? You know, and I appreciate the free stuff. Trust me, I appreciate it because it does help them survive. Okay? That is a good thing. But there's no motivation for them to improve. Okay?
Can I
Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Mr. Marshall? No?
I attended the behavioral health meeting, I think it was a week or two ago, and they were talking about the No Place Like Home program. And my understanding is that we have been granted a $75,000 fund to improve the computer system that would allow us to then apply for more funds for the No Place Like Home program. And from what I was reading in the plans, the behavioral health plan, was that job placement and training is one of the programs that they're looking into. But we need, this takes it a year off while they're doing the gathering of the data. And we need something now to put in place for these people, for job placement, for training. So that I'm sure many of them would like to, if they could take a shower, if they were able to clean up and apply for these jobs. So I think this is something that the task force needs to delve into right away, rather than waiting for something else to be done. Just my thought. Thank you.
Any questions?
I do.
Oh,
I don't have
Kathy,
necessarily a question, but I do know that there is a pretty darn good program with Motherlode Job Training, where they will train for your type of programs that you were talking about, specifically in conjunction also with the college. But I think that that would be a worthy topic here as part of this research, to have some information to that effect of what's available. Not just those high-end things, but the regular jobs that people can do, entry jobs, and like she or he said about the skills that they may have hidden that are not, you know, being utilized at this point in time. So Dave Taney, I think, with the Motherlode Job, and then I think with the college, isn't that Kraus, Dr.
Klaus.
Klaus, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
they-
actually was at that meeting.
They've
at the college.
kind of
Yes.
paired
Yeah,
up in
They have a
that.
whole job board.
Yes.
They have a new position.
Right,
So, I mean, I'll talk to them.
okay.
Hi, my name's John McCrae, and found myself homeless about 2 weeks ago. Came from Tulare County, down in San Joaquin Valley, and really wasn't going to speak tonight, but I think maybe, because I worked at a thrift store for 3 years before I left, I can tell you kind of what the situation is in Tulare County. They have code enforcement around the city. If somebody is encamped for long periods of time, they might be put on that list for code enforcement. And then it's a section of the police department where they come around, they make sure they're not collecting and it's becoming an eyesore, things like that. So they kind of keep them in check that way within city limits. Also, yes?
So in the city of, there is a city of
This would be
Tulare.
Tulare County, Tulare, California, Visalia, California, that area in between Fresno and Bakersfield.
Right, no, I know where the county is, but you mentioned the city. I was just wondering, because city and counties tend to have different ordinances, so if we're going to look it up, we kind of want to see
Yeah.
which
And
ordinance you're talking about.
Visalia and Tulare are the two areas I'm very familiar with.
Okay.
And both had their version of code enforcement. Visalia had a very good, Visalia Rescue Mission, a men's facility, a women's facility, separate. One of their really nice things that they did that I saw over the last few years was they developed a chain linked area, and in this they put lockable garbage cans. Okay, now this could also be the Rubbermaid closets that can be lockable. And then this person, a homeless person, if they can come up with their own lock, okay, it was a place where they could store their items. And that freed them up so much to be able to do other things, because when you have to carry your life with you, to have a place where you can store it. Okay? So the ones who were really on the ball, they would get the closet mini storage for $30 a month. But the ones who did not have an income, this was something through the rescue mission that was pretty minimal cost, really. Garbage cans that seal up with a lock. And then these people have a place to put their stuff. They know that it will be, it was, somebody did have to watch it, but it was adjacent to the rescue mission to where vandalism was kept to, or any theft. And really, it worked. It was on for over 2 years that I know of. It's still going. And of course, they had the cafeteria. But I wanted to mention that about code enforcement. That's basically how they would handle it. In my week and a half here, I've ran into some great people. Interfaith, Lambert Drop-In Center, and there's several, churches, restaurants around town. I have one paper here that says meals, and any night of the week, there's usually a meal somewhere within a 10-mile radius. So these are great, great things, and I want to commend you on all that. And knowledge is a wonderful thing. My 2 cents that I really wanted to get to tonight was my first 3 days in town, I didn't know where anything was, and I didn't have my government phone yet. So I was looking for a map, and it took me 3 days to get a map. I finally got it from a thrift store, and it's a secondhand map. And social services, the gal was kind enough to look it up on Google and print it for me. So a map, putting your location, Kathy, your location, make it look like a Disneyland map. Give it a nice big legend. Make it easy for us. Because, if we don't have a car, it's a long way from Monterey over to the Red Church, isn't it? Or to Columbia, to the Church of 49ers. Okay. So that was my 2 cents. I think a map available, maybe at social services when they go to get their CalFresh card. The visitor center, McKinsey, helped me there to have that map. And as soon as I got that map, things really started opening up. I found out where the drop-in center was after I got on the map. Okay. So there's my 2 cents.
Right, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
What made you decide to come to Sonora?
Identity theft, and my family, there's an inheritance issue going on, and I had to get away from my relatives, and I'm going to seek legal advice.
Okay.
And also we can mention that, Kathy, the Interfaith, you do have those legal services on Friday. That is a great, great resource. So, the first thing is just to start over. I'm looking for a job right now. Any entry position. I want to work.
Any other question? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? We've been kind of going off a little bit, but bring it back into the homeless court, the return to work and revenue recovery issues in particular. No? Okay. Well, let's bring it back then to the task force. And Colette, you were going to find some of the areas that are that already have this program and similar to our own, and also look for some advantages and disadvantages
Right,
if
and
they
also
haven't.
speak to people locally, just
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see how we can.
Do we want any kind of presentation from the court system? Ask.
I mean, I think eventually, let me just collect some
Yeah,
data
let's do that
first, and I'll send it all to you, and try to sort of
Okay.
compile it and organize it and send it to you.
Okay. And what about revenue recovery? Do we need Shelley or her office, or do you want to wait for the whole shebang?
I thought that was part of my assignment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I mean, well, I said the court system, that's
Oh.
separate from
Right.
the county and revenue recovery.
Yeah, I think it should all be packaged as one
Okay.
presentation.
What about the return to work component? Do we want someone from MLJT to come and see
Eventually.
if, or do we want to wait until,
I think let's wait and
Put it all in
learn
one.
Yeah.
more from that first,
Right.
and then see what we can build.
okay, why don't we, and then we're talking about the second meeting in January, which would be 11, 14, is 24th, 25th, if I'm not mistaken.
Thursday.
It'd be
yeah.
25, wouldn't it?
25th.
Okay. So we'll have them,
And you know, some other things too, like Jeanette was talking about, I would really like it if some of the folks that we're talking about that have come from other areas have ideas or information from where they came to see if there's any things that we could apply. That's kind of those experiences and skills that some of those folks have. And I know a couple of them are out here tonight that have come from nothing and built themselves into really great, help in the community. So I would like to hear some of that stuff too.
okay.
I would just like to just mention something too that I've been thinking about as the business community and residents in downtown Sonora, and just the task force and our goals would be that we have a very giving community and we want to help people. But it would be nice to keep those resources for people who are definitely in need, and hope that that people become independent, as you say, and find a job and move ahead, so that when someone else falls in hard times, that's what the goal is, not to keep people in that constant state of homelessness, because it's gonna keep growing. So it's almost like moving people through a system to where we have a step where you step in, but you can step forward also. Or else we're not going to meet the goals of the labor force. I know there's a lot of I've said this a few times, you hear the building industry is very busy right now. It's very difficult to find someone to work. But a lot of people say the young people don't want to work. I think the older generation is more wants to go to work than the 18-year-olds. And if somehow we could get the lumber industry that's working on the dead tree cleanup, the building industry, and get the labor force somehow connected. I've heard of communities that will have a certain area where you can come in and pick a able-bodied man up for, say you want to work 4 hours. You know, you're not in shape to work an 8-hour day because you haven't really been doing it. And maybe they don't want you a whole 8-hour day. You know, you can work hard for 4, get you back, into town. But somehow, the most difficult thing is workman's comp and insurance, that whole situation.
That's the
So
next one.
if somehow we can make it that people could work and help the employer to be able to employ someone, but also not take away what we're already giving the person, because if you go to work and then we take away their resources, they still can't get ahead. And then finally, they can be totally independent, and then the next person steps in. And how you do that is the big question.
Well, this is the part of continued discussion of homeless issues, so, if there's other,
I was wondering, do we have a timeline as a task force? Like by this time,
not
we're supposed
currently.
to have some kind of recommendation or report to offer?
No, and that's something we can talk about, setting up a timeline ourselves. I think that's a good idea.
I mean, I think,
Go ahead.
I think on that vein, at the end of every meeting, we should declare goals for the next meeting, just so and we should probably, as a group, come up with 3-month goals, 6-month goals,
Yes.
where we
Yes.
want to be a year from now, so that we, and then it just goals for the next meeting.
No, go ahead. If any- Yeah.
Well, that's one of
I don't know if you
the
all can hear it, but we can hear there's a fly trapped in there.
He's having a buzz time.
Trying to get out of that thing, it's driving everyone along. I think that's a good thing for our next meeting. I think we can at least tackle short and medium range and long-term goals, at least, if not totally, at least in a cursory manner at our next meeting, along with the what next.
Okay. And another, just a comment around the trajectory that we are offering up as kind of a model, which is this path towards self-sufficiency, which I think most of us would like to see happen for folks. But one thing that we've got to keep in mind when we're talking about folks who are living outside is this country has dismantled residential mental health care services, a couple of decades ago. And so the services that efforts like this are looking to address encompass folks who aren't going to be able to follow that trajectory towards self-sufficiency into any kind of permanency because of some severe mental health, emotional health issues that once upon a time there were more robust services for. So in the mix, while we want to make it possible for folks to live differently, I think we also need to be aware of and sensitive to the folks who that's just not possible for them right now and may not be possible for them in the midterm or long-term future, and recognize that there needs to be patience and understanding and a recognition of our varying degrees of potential. Because there's just nothing anymore. Once those doors were shut, I think it was in the 80s.
It's pretty hard.
We saw a spike in homelessness, and we've never rebuilt those services.
Well, at the drop-in center, I've talked with behavioral health, and sometime after the first of the year, when I get the back room cleaned out, they told me that I would be able to have a counselor over there twice a week for 2 hours each time, so that they don't have to try to get over to behavioral health, but you can address it right there.
That's great.
So they say that, so we'll see if I keep after them to get it done. So that should be after the first year.
Yeah, and then we'll go to.
A couple things. One is I would really, I'm worrying about the looming aging population of homeless, older people, or those that are disabled, mentally disabled, physically disabled, I guess I should say. Intellectually disabled, I guess is a new term. That, and then with the Greenlee Road apartments, rents being raised to to a degree, and the senior apartments rents being raised, I fear we may see more folks homeless or beginning to be homeless before they can do something. But the other thing I'd like to see is I want to know what the homeless want.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to hear from y'all. What do you want? What would work for you? What do you need? Mailboxes? Do you need something like that so you can get mail for resume returns or questions or appointments or anything like that? I just want to know what would work to get some independence for folks to start the step of coming along. So I'd like that to be a topic sometime specifically.
And I think John McCrae gave us a couple of really
Right,
tangible things.
that's what I mean. I mean, I
But
thought that was really good.
Some input along those lines would be very helpful.
But I know there's some others that are quiet, but they're right in the thick of it, and they don't want to say anything, or they're a bit nervous about saying it. But even if they wrote it down and they met with us and we could work it through with them to speak up, that would be fine. But I want to know, because we can sit here and make all these things going on, but I want to hear it. I want to know.
Hi, my name is AJ. Sorry, I should have asked this question earlier, but I actually represent a community of thrift stores. I work for my Christian Heights thrift store, and we actually meet a couple months apart to gather issues. One of the issues is the homeless situation, so one of the reasons I'm here. Each of us have a different way we handle how the homeless need. Lots of clothes we like to give. Nancy's Hope is a big one. She has some different programs. But one of my main questions is what, if anything, are we doing anything wrong? Is there anything that we're doing too much of? Is there anything in the community? Because I'm really uneducated when this kind of topic comes. We just come and people who come and just obviously have a need, we bless them. But I want to also, at the same time, get that next step going. And so, we don't want to keep them in, I agree, we don't want to keep them in the situation they're in. So is there anything as a thrift store community that we are doing too much of or doing too little of that we could do more of?
I just think sharing the information of what resources are available,
Okay.
should they ask, or to share if they know of other people that are going through the struggles.
Absolutely. That's actually a big question that comes, and basically we just try to send them to other thrift stores. Interfaith's a big one. We like to send a lot of people and a lot of donations your way as well. And so is there any way to get that kind of information of
Yeah.
who?
So come to the consortias, see me after the meeting or something, to
Yeah.
the social service consortia. Jerry used to come
Okay.
from your church.
Yes.
And that's a place, and it's open to anyone, where you can get any kind of information about what services are available on the social level.
Okay.
It's not just about the social services county departments, it's about us, it's about the churches, it's about anybody that's doing anything for anybody else.
Fantastic.
And so we share all kinds of information. We usually have a little speaker, what are your barriers? Are your clients, is it accessible to your clients? What do they say are the problems out there? How are you handling volunteers and all that sort of stuff? So anytime, and that's quarterly, usually the second Wednesday of the second month of the quarter.
Okay. So when's the next one?
It'll be February, the second Wednesday in February.
Okay, but I can get some information after.
Yes, you certainly can.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Yes.
before you go.
I'm so sorry.
Another opportunity seems like at thrift stores, it's a site that could be a great site to help bring in volunteer opportunities that are highly structured,
Okay.
that almost serve like training, on-the-job training.
Oh, okay.
And entry-level employment to help
Right.
people build up a resume and get a little paycheck.
Yeah,
along
we would
the way.
actually love to work with any kind of program that we can set up. We actually love taking people there are a lot of homeless we've encountered that actually do, like this gentleman here,
Right.
I commend that, that they want to get off the street, they're in tears, they've had a bad trip. And so if there's anything like that we can do, we would love to do that. And so how do you think we would be able to kind of incorporate that? Is that kind of what we're meeting about, obviously? Yeah.
I think that's what well, I mean, that's the idea, and I think it would be up to you and your colleagues and your expertise to figure out how you would best set up a program like that that doesn't compromise your business
Right.
and your work environment, but also creates an opportunity for people to learn and be well prepared to enter a retail job market.
That's a great idea. Thank you very much.
You-
Any other questions?
You could also call the drop-in center and see if there's anybody interested in volunteering.
Drop-in center?
Yes.
Do you have
David,
phone
I can
number?
give you a card afterward.
Okay.
We do have people who call and ask for workers, and they'll help move furniture or dig ditches or whatever. I wish we had a work program out of there, but I understand that's very complicated and all that other stuff that goes with it, so.
Probably puts you in a big liability.
Yeah, I don't want any part of that. I just say, sure, if you want a couple of these guys, you can
Yeah,
have them.
there's certain companies like the Restore that kind of
Right.
look at that, and they limit a lot of things,
Yeah.
but that is a good thing to start. And actually, we just talked about that this morning, so.
For volunteers,
Drop-in
yeah.
center, it's a good idea. Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
have your brochures here.
Oh, thank you so much.
I just want to comment on, about the mail, because that was an issue for me. And I am getting general delivery at South Washington, and that's working for me. And so I had to do a change of address from my other location, general delivery here. And then when I'm doing a resume, I'm listing that as my mailing address. So that's working for me right now. So general delivery
Yeah.
is a good solution
Most
for
of our
now.
issues.
And if they want to get more private, you can go to P.O. Box if you want to. That seems to be working for me. And then I also wanted to mention, we also did job fairs, homeless fairs down
Okay,
in
job fairs.
Tulare County. Also through the thrift store I worked for, 5 locations, Long Beach, San Diego, El Cajon. This was something that they tried to do at each location. And at these homeless fairs, you have some homework where you've got a hold of some employers that are looking, and they're there that day. So you can be taking resumes that day. You have another person who's fixing bicycles. He's fixing bicycles that day. Another person from the thrift stores is handing out backpacks, shoes, pants, okay? All in one location. Advertised a month ahead, all happens on one day.
Question you on the job fair, what type of businesses usually, do you
Well,
get changed, I mean, do you get?
Down in Tulare County, it would have been some farm work.
Mhm.
Also, volunteer, of course, that is, volunteer here, volunteer here.
Mhm.
A lot of resume writing, just building up the resume and trying to point them in the right direction. But there is some big companies down, so I don't think it was more like Walmart, but more like agricultural based.
Mm.
Del Monte, okay, Reese Foods, those kind of, but that's the market there.
Sure.
So you have to look at your market here and like maybe Dodge Ridge,
Lumber,
Yeah.
correct,
stuff like that.
yeah,
Mhm.
or create a new one.
Yeah, like that.
So, along with that, I'm a big advocate on when you're not working, at least volunteer, because that keeps your skills up, it keeps your customer service, your appearance, you're on time.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, if I'm hiring someone, I'm looking at that. What are they doing in between?
What's that big gap?
Right, are they just sitting around waiting for the phone call, or are they out there volunteering and helping and keeping up their skills and learning more and putting that on their resume that yes, it was a volunteer job, but it would, to me, it's mighty important.
Analogy could be made between, like, say, healthcare
Yeah.
and the homeless. In healthcare, a person is going to slide.
You bet.
It's called quality of life. So all Medicare is to try and keep that quality of life as high as possible and keep that slippery slope as gradual as possible. Same thing with homeless. We continue to slip, if we stay out of the workforce, if we're handed everything without any kind of incentive. Some of the best things you guys have done for me is your terminals, where I can get on and actually do my resume and put in 4 apps, So computer access is huge. And, if you don't, your government phone, sometimes you can't get the resume on there real good and all that. You need that printer, you need that terminal, bigger screen, mouse. So, that's been great. It's been great to have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Leanne Hatton, and I live in Sonora. But I have a couple of answers for some of the things that came up. Right now, Motherlode Job Training is looking for laborers to do tree mitigation. They have the contracts, federal and state, to pay for the workman's comp and the training to do that. So it would be a good idea maybe to check in with them. They just recently had
job
that.
description was.
Motherlode Job Training?
Yeah, but
For laborers,
Yeah.
tree mitigation. And they're training, they're taking care of all of the workman's comp, all of the things that go hand
That's the
in hand with that.
teeny one.
One of the others was, there are a lot of programs outside of the state of California that really are cutting edge when it comes to addressing homelessness within cities. And I think that if we stay just looking at California, we're gonna box ourselves in. We need to look outside of that, because Salt Lake City has some phenomenal programs. Absolutely phenomenal programs that are not even within the realm of what we even consider thinking here at this point in time. So please don't limit ourselves to California. The other part I want to comment on is the veterans, when they do their stand down, try to do a homeless court for homeless veterans. So you may reach out to the veterans contact here in our community to see who they're working with to do that homeless court.
Okay.
Okay?
That's smart, isn't it?
That
Frank
was
Smart.
named
It is Frank Smart.
Frank Smart.
Yeah.
There's
Frank
another one
Smart's-
too,
Valerie.
Esquire, yeah,
So thank you very much.
it's really good.
Thank
She
you.
did the last one.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I have one more. Sorry. In regards to the thrift store stuff, I do career and education development for Tribal TANF. So I do a lot with Motherlode Job Training, and then I do a lot with our Tribal TANF folks for work experience and on-the-job training. And if you're native, you can come talk to me, and I can help set up a work experience site at one of your thrift stores. If you're not native, you can go to Motherlode Job Training, and they have the ability to set up those work experience sites and those on-the-job training sites, where they take on a burden of that training dollar. So it doesn't come back to the thrift store to have to do it.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'll give you my card
Yes,
or
please.
my phone if I want cards, but that way you can give me a holler. Thank you very much.
Any questions for?
Any questions?
May I have your phone number as well?
You can, thanks. You're welcome.
Arthur?
Hello, my name is Arthur Schmidt, and I just want to bring up a couple things that backtrack a little bit. I mean, Marlene Wright brought up some of the issues. I'm a business owner, and we're the ones that wanted to bring the task force back. So I would suggest maybe going to the business owners on Washington Street and saying, what are the issues? Because we're the ones that actually wanted this task force. You want to go to the homeless, you really need to go to the business owners and say, what are the issues? What are the issues? You know, the post office isn't even open 24 hours because of a homeless problem. So I think you need to direct a little attention towards the businesses and say, what can we do to help the businesses and get their ideas? What are the issues they have? The loitering, the shoplifting, the breaking the windows, the vandalism. How are we going to solve? And maybe it's directing your issues towards certain homeless people or transient people. Get them in line. Figure out how can we help them. There's a lot of them, like people have mentioned, that don't want help. They just want the free stuff. Well, like Marlene said, we need to help those move on that we can. And some of them are mentally disabled, and you can't help them. But we can't have them continue to disrupt our town either, because we want the tourists to come here and not see 8 of them walking down the street picking up cigarette butts and yelling at people. We don't want that. We want to help them, but we want to be able to create an environment for the whole city to enjoy. So I as a business, I would like you guys to look into that. Talk to behavioral health, talk to the police department, look on crime graphics. You'll see those people on there over and over and over that are causing us, the business people, problems. Thank you.
Well,
Okay,
can
well,
I
hang
ask
on.
you something?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's always been a puzzlement to me. How do we know if it's the homeless or if it's just folks doing this stuff? Do you know for a fact that it's the
Well-
homeless or just a little pocket of homeless, or, because we lump it all together all the time? And I'm concerned about that.
Right.
That labeling kind of thing.
Well, that's why I said you
Yeah.
need to direct the focus towards maybe in certain individual people.
Yeah, and that's a whole different
Janet could
issue.
probably help with that.
The police
And the
department
business,
is
the
too.
police department could.
They are, yeah.
Us business owners, Marlene, myself, we could tell you people on the street that are the ones that are causing the problems, that make the post office close.
Right.
Make you read articles in the paper that businesses are closing early on the weekends because of theft problems.
Right.
And people just coming in, and it's not all our problem. Some of it's a state problem because there's no penalty for shoplifting anymore. You just get another ticket and another ticket and another ticket. You don't go to jail. I don't know how many people understand that. You don't go to jail anymore. It has to be a felony, and then they'll let you loose because we have overcrowded jails. So there's a lot of issues that are just Sonora related to that. But, so going and saying, well, we're gonna have a place where all these people can get out of all their tickets, well, that's not gonna help the issue for some of them, because they're just gonna continue to get tickets. I mean, like Marlene said, you gotta help the ones that need the help, the ones that are abusing the system. We have to do something with those people also. We have to be able to somehow get them to understand that we can't have that. We can't have someone act like that.
Oh, anyone though. Not anyone act like that, not just,
Correct.
yeah.
But we're talking about the homeless. We're talking about the transient homeless population. Someone that's not homeless that's causing a problem, that's a different issue. We're talking about, we want to help the homeless ones, so the transients, the ones that are living in the streets, the ones that are doing that's what, you got to direct your focus somewhere.
Right.
Yes.
I guess a question of mine has been, we have some great services that help people that need help, that are looking for work and are good people, but then is there any screening when, like say you look at the people on crime graphics or on the Tuolumne County Sheriff's crime graphics, are some of these people going to services and getting the meals and getting free things? Or is there any, I mean, can you go if you have an outstanding warrant? Can you go if you're a criminal that's, or do you not?
You cannot come to the
warrant?
drop-in center if you have any warrants, and I have a
Okay.
gal that checks it every single day. We write it down and we say, you
Yeah.
can't be here till you clean up your warrant, and then you're always welcome
Yeah.
back. But no, they
So
can't
that,
be
I mean,
there.
so that's a good thing to know, but what I would like to do is go door to door to each business
Sure.
in downtown and write down everyone's concerns and come back and then.
I would like to go with you on that, Marlene, because I would like to know specifically what their things are with the homeless.
Arthur, before you go, I did have a question for you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Does anyone else have a question, by the way? The question I have is, talking about you in particular, what is your biggest problem? Is it theft? Is it loitering? Is it vandalism?
Probably vandalism, graffiti, and it's the three graffiti problems I've had has been transients. It hasn't been a high school kid. It hasn't been that. And begging for money. Would you want to go and get out of your car and have somebody come up there and beg for money? And the ones I personally caught are homeless people. And, you know, the shoplifting, they're not the only ones stealing, don't get me wrong. But, you know, they're the ones that are just loitering and you know, you drive through town and tourists aren't gonna like that. And we, as people who live here, you know, we wanna help, but we don't wanna see that either. So those,
Okay, thanks. Oh,
Good evening. My name is Jeff Warren, and I'm a resident of Twainhart. And even though I'm a resident of this county, I'm retired. I currently serve on the board of directors of Bethany Services, which owns and operates the Bakersfield Homeless Center. And I've sat on that board for nearly 20 years, and I'm the immediate past chairperson of the board as well. And our organization has a 200-bed facility, commercial kitchen, dining room. We have a licensed daycare program. We also have an after-school program for our K through 8 clients. And most importantly, our organization is focused on putting our clients in jobs and housing within 60 days. And the issues that I see you dealing with, and the county as well, are issues that we dealt with in Bakersfield with the county of Kern 30 years ago. And it resulted in the construction and operation of our facility. We do have job programs. I know a number of people have spoken on that issue. Our clients work on Adopt a Highway program. Also, they work at the Green Waste Facility of the City of Bakersfield, at the County SPCA. And we have a program which I'm particularly proud of, and I think it speaks to some of the comments brought up this evening. It's called Downtown Ambassadors. And what this program is that we have clients at our facility who go to downtown Bakersfield and they interact with the homeless in the area. And they're armed with information and to get them the services that they require. Being homeless themselves, they can relate. But the people who are in this program have to be somewhat intelligent and articulate because they are working directly with the business owners as well. So it's worked quite well, and we're very proud of that program. And just lastly, I know Colette from another board, but we have had the homeless court and this recovery. We've had these programs for years.
Great.
And when you're ready, I can get you in touch with our CEO.
Great.
And also explain, if you're interested, how we built our facility, where we got the funding, and more about our programs.
just briefly, oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah, but you can.
Just briefly, how are you funded?
Well, we're through a number of grants. Our operating income is through grants. Our budget is $6 million. So we do have quite a bit of, well, Bakersfield's the 9th largest municipality in California. Sorry, not Salt Lake City or Valley State, but we do have a very good program.
Yeah.
But it's mostly, there probably 18 or 20 grants, federal and state, that we use, and also some city and county ESG money, which is emergency services grants. The facility ourselves was constructed in the late 80s by the city and county, who came together with what's no longer exists. They're called HPRP grants, housing, homeless prevention and rapid rehousing, and then also with community development block grants. And the facility back in that time was built for about $1 million. But we're now involved in we've basically outgrown our facility, and we're closing escrow on a piece of property, 3 acres in Bakersfield next week, upon which we're going to build another facility. And we'll be buying some adjoining land as well. But that's about an $8 to $10 million capital raising program that we'll be undertaking. Yeah.
Cool.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Your ambassador program?
Downtown ambassador.
Your ambassador program, are those ambassadors currently homeless, or are they?
Yes.
They're current
Everyone,
residents?
they
of
all
the
live at our
facility?
facility, and each morning we have transportation, and people are going to work. The kids go to school. 90% of our clients are families or single parents with children.
How
The
long can they
remaining
stay?
10 Pardon me?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The remaining 10% are single adults. And we do that, we have that 10% really for funding purposes. There is another facility, Rescue Mission, that focuses on single adults. And we have an agreement that that's, how we would handle it.
And I've actually looked at your website in the past, it's been a couple months, but the criteria for your homeless shelter, you cannot be currently addicted, is that
That's correct.
Okay.
We can't address those issues with children
Right.
being in our facility.
That's
And there is a place that we're involved with called Friese House. We actually own the building, and it's the services, this is substance abuse and mental health issues it's really operated by an organization out of Phoenix.
Okay. That's neat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just gonna ask you, how long can they stay there?
60 days.
Oh, yeah, you said that in the beginning.
So they come to our facility, they meet with our counselors, we try to get an understanding of why they're homeless, what they can and cannot do, and as I say, from that point on, we work toward getting them into a job and also into housing, and then we have a continuum of care, which is the big thing right now if you're reading about homelessness. And we have those programs afterward to ensure that they stay in housing and in their jobs.
So if someone is on disability and they're homeless, and they would like to work, but they really can't because that would disturb the disability issues, how does all that play out? I mean, this is where I'm coming across a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that's something that I got to admit that we really don't, I wouldn't say do well, we just don't deal with it, unfortunately. But it's one sector that we probably should look at a little more closely.
Some of ours on disability can work. They're only allowed to make a certain amount, which they can do. And if they take a full-time job and their disability goes on hold, it can be 5 years and they won't lose that. They can go right back on it. So they can work, but not usually full-time.
Any other questions for Mr. Warren? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
You right, Tanya.
Hi, my name's Susan Elias. Sorry, I'm really sick right now. So I apologize. I'm nervous. I don't usually talk in front of people. In 2003, I was homeless with my son. He was only 2, but we were in San Francisco, and San Francisco has so many supportive services for homeless. But like my kind of vision, if I were to ever do any kind of thing, because I want to help people. Have you ever heard of Delancey Street?
Yes.
It's a self-sufficient rehabilitation. I was thinking, like, why couldn't that be done for the homeless? Have a self-sufficient where you have businesses that are linked primarily to that live-in time that they're there, whether it be 3 months or 6 months. And while they're working, they don't get a wage, but they get taken care of. But then all that money, like, a certain percentage is to help the business, and then the other part is for savings for when they're ready to leave. I just thought, because everyone was saying, how do you solve it, or how do you get people in? And the people who are willing to do it, you know what, you come to our facility, you got to clean up within 30 days. If you don't, you're gone, or, and then you get into a job or a position where you learn a trade. So, just some ideas.
Good.
Thanks. Any
And then
questions?
also, like, I know, I've met a lot of kids around here, and I talk to a lot of people now because I do like helping people. A lot of these kids that have lived here and grown up here who are on drugs and are messed up, they don't have anybody. And when they do have somebody, maybe they'll want to give a little bit more for themselves. And unfortunately, those are usually the kids that do end up doing a lot of the stealing around the stores. And I feel that, like, all the homeless that I have met that are down by round table, they don't really get encountered into that stuff, because they have the services and the help, so they're not more, it's usually the kids that are screwed up and are misled, and don't have anybody giving them the right kind of steps in life, so that's all.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been kind of on my mind too, because I was born and raised here, and before we had everything's so automated. You know, all the kids had to work. And so then you had to have your mentor, your boss. And like my dad's gas station, everybody worked there. And the restaurants and, you know, everybody just, and you knew everybody because it wasn't big corporations. And so you kind of, people would get, hey, you know, knock it off, you know, you can't do that. And so we kind of held the community together. So now, like you say, people are so distanced and they get on drugs or their parents are on drugs that we have this whole new society of people that we can't like manage.
Or, I can't mold them or anything, you know, and so, so unfortunately, it would be nice to get like a youth service or like the drop-in center for youth even.
For the younger people.
Yeah, with some counseling there and stuff like that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good.
That's a really good point, yeah, for the 17.
Oh, you're leaving. Is there any other? Carol?
Well, there are other conversations, this doesn't even work, right?
No.
Occurring in the
Not tonight.
community. So Jeanette, I know there's going to be things coming your way. So the mental health, I forget what act it is, they're actually going to be doing the report, I think it's January 2nd before the Board of Supervisors. And if you read the report, I'm really stunned at how much we're paying to provide services per person. So some of them are $300, $400, $1,300. So they have a $12.4 million budget, and we don't seem to be spreading the wealth. So I think we ought to be looking at those reports and participating in how our money is getting spent.
Truly.
And then January 11th, I think you're doing your program, right? So I would invite many in the audience to come to that program here.
Right here, it's a co-meeting.
So I think that'll be really good. I was going to say something else, so now I kind of lost my train of thought. But there's a lot of people that don't realize what's being offered for the mental health community here. And so I believe their like New Year's bash is going to be on December 29th. And I'm not sure what the time is, but it's usually around noonish or before. So I would invite everyone to come to the Enrichment Center and get a taste of what's being offered there. Because you really ought to know that. And then I'm sorry that Deacon Mike left. He's always so shy and doesn't want to talk from St. Patrick's. But what I hear, kind of along with Arthur, is that a lot of times we're not helping, we're enabling. And I've seen many of the same people on the street since 2009. And you see them regularly making the circuit out of everything that's free. And sometimes I wonder, why am I downtown cleaning up? And I've had some transients, unsheltered, whatever you want to call them, tell me about the trash on the street and how nobody picks it up or sloppy, but they're not picking it up either. So I'm picking it up. So I would kind of like a little cleanup crew.
Come see me.
You know, if you don't have anything to do all day, why can't you, why is Mike McGuire out with his tidy cat box cleaning up all the cigarette butts? And I know he goes by Mexican Dave and he talks to me a lot, but he's just sitting in front of Cervantes.
Yeah.
So I think, there are things he could be doing. He can walk up and down the street. So I just think maybe I don't know if we need to ask. Maybe people don't realize we would appreciate their assistance.
Well, I think a one-to-one works the best. And if we could have one-to-one people who cared enough about just that one person to come alongside of them, to get them to appointments if they're terrible about getting to appointments, but then they know somebody really cares. That could help if you just maybe ask somebody, I'd like to have you walk with me this week and help me pick up and get to know them and talk to them.
Well, that might be a plan.
Come and see us down there.
And then I'm concerned, and I know I've talked to the sheriff several times, with all the issues in Jamestown or whatever, but you get people to a point where they don't want this life and they want to get some help, and then you go to behavioral health and you get their little 24-hour crisis intervention, and then you're waiting
Months.
months, weeks, months, days for
Forever.
appointments, and
Then they won't come again. They
right,
just
and
quit
that's a
going.
whole disconnect, so that's something we need to be asking, I think, of our behavioral health department, because that's our money. And so we should be paying attention to how it's spent, so there are some things that I think we could be doing, and I think we should be paying attention to some of the services that are offered here and asking them to do more. Thank you.
Any questions for Carol?
Oh, sorry, I want.
That's all right.
You all see me all the time.
Yeah.
It's okay, we may have to say,
You can talk to me anytime.
like, to
Yes.
separately.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Okay.
Hey, Glenn, don't you have anything to say?
Yeah, I've asked.
I know, I thought maybe Norm would talk.
Okay. Okay, so kind of, unless you want to, as a group, do we want to talk about the last go-around of ideas, or,
I think we got a
or I think, yeah, do we?
I think we need to put it all together at some point or another, make a plan,
Do
put
something.
it together and
goals.
get going on
Yeah.
something, you know?
If
I
they-
will talk to all the business owners.
Okay.
'cause
But I
really
would
don't
like
know
to
what
go
else
with you.
say. I have my own little spiel.
I would like
and
to go
just
with her
need
to that.
Yeah,
Could I go with you?
sure.
I'd like to.
But I do also think, I'm not sure if it was Carol or somebody else that made a comment right at the very beginning, is that we need to go visit a lot of the places where there are services.
How many of
And-
you have been to the drop-in center or the enrichment center or out to Interfaith? If you haven't, I really think you should make yourself see what those places are like.
Well, or the thrift stores.
Or the thrift stores,
You know,
too, but-
wherever else there's issues. I mean, I really think that we need to do that a little bit too, not just every time we come here, we spend an hour and a half or two talking about it, but we don't
I guess
really
I
know
just
it.
trust that you guys are doing an awful lot. I mean, I did go to the
Yeah.
drop-in center, but to me, I mean, I totally trust that you're doing a lot, so there's no question there. I guess what my question is what do the business owners want from this task
That's
force?
what
I think it's an excellent.
We're here, so we need to find out.
I'm not sure
who
everyone,
aren't here.
I'm not sure everyone can hear you,
Yeah.
because the microphone's so,
Right.
I might want to
Yeah.
say that again a little louder.
Yeah, so I will go to the business owners and ask specifically what their concerns are and
Good.
for the next meeting.
Cool.
And I'll ask my homeless,
Yes.
what
What
would,
they need.
what would they consider as help rather than handout?
Yeah,
We can do that in the
exactly.
center too. Okay.
Cool. Okay, so our next meeting will not be this coming in 2 weeks' time, but instead will be in January the 11th. And I have on that agenda the discussion of the low barrier, what do you call it? Low barrier system, low barrier
Approach.
concept, approach.
Yeah.
And it'll be a co-meeting with folks that were involved at the presentation, ACCA's presentation of the original presentation of the point in time count, and has become known as the What's Next group. And
That's a
so,
cute name. I like it.
yeah, I do too, actually. And so they'll meet here with us and be on our agenda and talk about that. And then I'd also, we'll also have on the agenda some concept, agendized goal settings for short and medium term or long term or
Yeah.
all three or
Good.
some combination thereof. And then the meeting after that will be the 25th, and that's when we'll talk about more direction, get Colette's report, and talk about, the homeless court, return to work, revenue recovery. And we may actually, we'll see if, I don't know what response Mary Ann will get, but that might be a good co-topic, second topic, and have the business owners come and, or at least get some response from the business owners, so. Does that sound good with everybody? Consensus? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. Didn't turn out as orderly and presentation-wise as I would have liked, but I think we got a lot accomplished today. A lot of folks talking about a lot of things, so I hope you'll stay engaged and keep coming to our meetings. They are usually the second and fourth Thursday of the month, but of course we won't have one for the Christmas week.